The air crackled with excitement. Music filled the streets of Vancouver. The aroma of Filipino cuisine wafted from food stalls. Laughter and conversation blended with the rhythmic beat of traditional dances. It was a beautiful day for the annual Lapu-Lapudayvancouver Festival, a vibrant celebration of Filipino culture and heritage. Thousands of people, families and friends, young and old, gathered to enjoy the festivities, their hearts brimming with joy and pride. Little did they know that this day of celebration would soon transform into a scene of unimaginable horror. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the lively crowd, a black SUV approached the heart of the festival. The driver, a 30-year-old Vancouver resident, steered the vehicle into the heart of the celebration, shattering the festive atmosphere in a horrifying instant. The joyous strains of music were abruptly replaced by the deafening screech of tires and the blood-curdling screams of terrified festival-goers. The SUV plowed through the unsuspecting crowd, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Bodies were flung into the air, others crushed beneath the vehicle's wheels. Panic erupted as people scrambled to escape the path of the oncoming SUV, their cries of joy transformed into shrieks of terror. The once vibrant tapestry of celebration was brutally ripped apart, leaving behind a scene of unimaginable chaos and despair. Josep Varde, co-owner of a popular Filipino food truck parked near the epicenter of the tragedy, could only watch in horror. He described the scene as a nightmare unfolding before his very eyes. "I heard the engine revving, this loud, angry sound," Varde recounted, his voice trembling. "And then the vehicle, it just came barreling down the street right through the middle of the crowd. People didn't even have time to react." He paused, his eyes welling up at the memory. There were bodies everywhere, under the food trucks, lying on the street. People were screaming, searching for loved ones. It was pure chaos. Another witness, Maria Santos, had been dancing with her family moments before the SUV struck. "One minute we were laughing, dancing," she shared, her voice thick with emotion. The next, it was like the world exploded. People were flying through the air, screaming. It was like something out of a horror movie. The accounts of eyewitnesses painted a chilling picture of the chaos and terror that ensued. Their words, raw and filled with emotion, served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life. The festive atmosphere, once brimming with laughter and joy, was now heavy with the stench of gasoline, the cries of the injured, and the palpable sense of disbelief that hung thick in the air. The heart of Vancouver, usually so full of life, was now scarred by an act of senseless violence. The scene that greeted first responders was nothing short of horrific. The air was thick with the smell of gasoline and the cries of the injured. Debris littered the street, overturned food stalls, shattered glass, and personal belongings scattered amidst the carnage. The vibrant colors of the festival decorations now stood in stark contrast to the grim reality of the situation. Paramedics rushed to treat the injured, their faces etched with grim determination as they triaged the victims. The most critically injured were whisked away in ambulances, sirens wailing, to nearby hospitals already bracing for a mass casualty event. The walking wounded, many in shock and disbelief, were treated on scene for cuts, bruises, and emotional trauma. The festive atmosphere had vanished, replaced by a chilling silence punctuated by the sobs of those who had lost loved ones and the frantic shouts of first responders. The street, once alive with music and laughter, was now a somber reminder of the fragility of life and the indiscriminate nature of tragedy. As darkness fell, casting an eerie glow over the scene, the true extent of the devastation became horrifyingly clear. The Lapu-Lapudayvancouver Festival, meant to be a celebration of Filipino culture and unity, had been transformed into a symbol of loss and despair. As news of the tragedy spread through Vancouver and beyond, a collective wave of grief and disbelief washed over the city. The Filipino community in particular was left reeling from the attack on a day that held such cultural and historical significance. What had begun as a celebration of their heritage had ended in a senseless act of violence, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and broken families. Community centers opened their doors, offering comfort and support to those struggling to cope with the tragedy. Candlelight vigils were held across the city, with mourners gathering to remember the victims, pray for the injured, and try to make sense of the senseless. The outpouring of support was immediate and overwhelming. Strangers offered hugs and words of comfort to those who had lost loved ones. Volunteers flocked to hospitals, offering to donate blood and provide any assistance they could. The city, united in grief, rallied around the Filipino community, offering solace and support during this unimaginable time of need. The pain and sorrow were palpable, but so too was the spirit of resilience. The community, though devastated, refused to let this act of hatred define them. They vowed to honor the memory of the victims by continuing to celebrate their heritage and standing together in the face of adversity. Section 5. The Suspect and the Investigation. In the hours following the attack, authorities worked tirelessly to piece together the events that led to the tragedy at the Lapu-Lapudayvancouver. The suspect, a 30-year-old Vancouver resident, was apprehended at the scene and taken into custody. While his identity was not immediately released, police confirmed that he was known to them, though the nature of their prior interactions remained undisclosed. The motive behind the attack remained a mystery, leaving investigators grappling for answers. Terrorism was quickly ruled out as a possible motive, further deepening the confusion and fueling speculation. Authorities remained tight-lipped about the details of the investigation, urging the public to avoid speculation and allow them to conduct a thorough and impartial inquiry. As the investigation unfolded, questions lingered. What could drive someone to commit such a horrific act of violence against innocent people celebrating their heritage? Was this a deliberate act of hate, a tragic accident, or the result of mental instability? The community waited anxiously for answers, hoping that the investigation would shed light on the darkness that had descended upon their city. The wheels of justice were set in motion, but the scars of that fateful day would forever remain etched in the hearts of those who bore witness to the tragedy. The tragic events at the Lapu-Lapudayvancouver sent shockwaves throughout Canada and beyond, prompting an outpouring of grief and condolences from world leaders. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney expressed his profound sadness and condemned the attack. "Our hearts go out to the victims, their families, and the entire Filipino community. We stand with you during this difficult time and offer our unwavering support." The unified message from Canadian leaders was clear. This act of violence would not be tolerated. The nation mourned with the city of Vancouver. The Lapu-Lapudayvancouver, held annually on April 27th, commemorates the legacy of Lapu-Lapu, a Filipino chieftain recognized as the first national hero of the Philippines. In 1521, Lapu-Lapu and his warriors famously defeated Ferdinand Magellan and his Spanish conquistadors in the Battle of Mactan, thwarting the Spanish attempt to colonize the archipelago. Lapu-Lapu's courage and determination in the face of overwhelming odds have made him an enduring symbol of Filipino resistance against foreign aggression and a source of national pride. The festival in his honor is a testament to his enduring legacy and a celebration of Filipino culture, heritage, and identity. This year's celebration, however, was tragically overshadowed by the horrific events that unfolded. The violence that erupted stood in stark contrast to the values of peace, unity, and resistance that Lapu-Lapu embodied. Yet even in the face of such tragedy, Lapu-Lapu's spirit of resilience served as a beacon of hope. Just as Lapu-Lapu and his warriors fought for their freedom centuries ago, the Filipino community and the city of Vancouver now faced a different kind of battle, a battle to heal, to rebuild, and to emerge from this tragedy stronger than ever before. In the wake of the tragedy, the spirit of resilience shone through the darkness. The Filipino community, though heartbroken, refused to let this act of violence define them. They drew strength from their heritage, their faith, and their unwavering belief in the power of unity. Community leaders, many of whom had lost loved ones in the attack, emerged as pillars of strength, urging peace, understanding, and a rejection of hatred. They called for unity, not division, emphasizing that the actions of one individual did not represent the values of an entire community. "We will not let this tragedy break us," declared one community leader at a vigil held in honor of the victims. "We will emerge from this stronger, more united, and more determined than ever to celebrate our heritage and stand up for what we believe in." The outpouring of support from the wider Vancouver community was a testament to the city's spirit of inclusivity and compassion. People from all walks of life came together to offer condolences, donate blood, volunteer their time, and show their solidarity with their Filipino neighbors. The road to healing after the tragedy at the Lapu-Lapudayvancouver would be long and arduous. The physical and emotional scars ran deep, and the memories of that day would forever be etched in the hearts of those who witnessed the horror. Yet even in the face of such unimaginable loss, there was hope. The tragedy, as horrific as it was, served as a stark reminder of the importance of unity, compassion, and understanding. It highlighted the need to address issues of hate, intolerance, and violence in all its forms. It also underscored the resilience of the human spirit and the power of community in times of adversity. As Vancouver mourned its losses, the community also began the long process of healing. Counseling services were offered to those struggling to cope with the trauma. Memorial funds were established to support the families of the victims, and throughout the city, conversations began about how to prevent such tragedies from happening again. The Lapu-Lapudayvancouver, once a symbol of joy and celebration, had been forever changed. But from the ashes of tragedy, a renewed sense of purpose emerged, a determination to honor the memory of the victims by building a more inclusive, compassionate, and resilient community for all.